Okay, so welcome back to the 13 Roses, and tonight we are interviewing the beautiful Tiffany. And I'm really excited for this interview. Tiffany has been on a really big journey with her sacred sexuality before she even came to me, and was teaching before we even connected. And Tiffany definitely holds the torch of the sacred sexuality teacher for sure. And it's been absolutely beautiful to see this woman really bloom in the sacredness of sexuality and work on the places that she needed to work on in order to become this really like whole, ingrained, leading teacher, really. So I could go on for another 5 minutes, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to just introduce the beautiful Tiffany and ask her to tell us a little bit about herself. So, hello, Tiffany, welcome. And if that hasn't really buffed you up and you're thinking, oh no, I don't know what to say now, you can just like come in and tell us who you are and what you've been doing up to the point that you joined the 13 Roses.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. I appreciate it and so happy to be here. So it's been quite the journey for me. I've been on a spiritual, exploratory, healing journey for quite some years and have explored many different modalities and practices. And somewhere along the way, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I started to really feel interested and drawn towards the feminine teachings and sacred sexuality. I think because I personally had a lot of blockages and just started to notice this big disconnection that I had in my body around sexuality. And so I felt really inspired to learn more about it and start to heal that part of myself. So I started to explore Taoism and Tantra and just different feminine wisdom and womb wisdom. And it just felt like this really powerful kind of missing link in my spiritual journey, because we're really taught that sex and spirit are sort of these separate things. But I realized that sex is actually the energy that creates us in the first place. And so if we want to heal our relationship with life, we really have to go to that source that also holds a lot of trauma and suppression and exploitation and shadow. So it felt like the most challenging place to go and also the most beautiful place to go. So yeah, I've just been on that journey for myself and also sharing it in the ways that I can with other women. And yeah, it's been such a beautiful journey exploring your and diving really deeply into your 13 Roses course that we're in now.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I've witnessed that whole work with you and how like you've been so open to it and so like, investigatory in your own journey that you've had before and open to a new insight. All insights are different, aren't they, from different teachers? We all bring something
Mm.
new, and that's what I encourage from you all as well. But I think the thing that you said about I myself had engaged in, wanting to explore this sexuality that I felt inside of me. And I was often left exasperated or feeling pretty broken because some of those high, impacting practices that were like orgasmic or the tantra world that's out there, and it left me feeling really deflated. And I was thinking, well, what's wrong with me as a woman, because I'm not
Mm.
experiencing those blissful places or those orgasmic experiences that everyone professes to be having. And actually, when I started to break away from that, I realized neither were the other women, and that there was
Mm.
just this whole shame in saying, no, I'm not feeling orgasmic, or no, that feels really blocked. And we go along with this like pretense, or we just like slide away and go, oh gosh, like I'm not there yet. But I think that's the experience for most women that discover sacred sexualities, that they're doing it because there are blocks that we want to explore in ourselves. So Do you want to expand a little bit more on that? Because I know that you've really embraced that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for bringing that up. I think it's such an important topic because, like on the one hand, we have all this sexual repression and suppression.
Mhm.
So then we have, these things that are kind of almost marketed to us in like it looks sacred and it looks kind of shiny and alluring because it's like, oh, like expand your orgasmic potential and have like not only like, little clitoral orgasms, but you should be having, 5-hour full body orgasms and
Yeah,
meet
yeah.
God. And like, it sounds great. Of course, we all want that. We all want pleasure and we all do have that potential. But I think there needs to be a lot more space held for the fact that we've been through thousands of years of suppression and abuse, and that stuff just doesn't magically go away overnight because we do a tantra workshop and start breathing into our chakras. Like it's such a deeper journey than that. And I think that I definitely kind of fell into that trap myself and felt like, oh, look at all these women that are having all these amazing orgasms. And if I can just, figure out this secret, then I'm going to feel amazing and all of my blockages are going to go away and I'm going to have this perfect life. And so I put all this pressure onto myself. And it just wasn't authentic. It wasn't real. And I got really frustrated with myself because I felt like you said, that I was just kind of broken and, falling into these traps of comparing ourselves to other people. And what that does is actually just disconnect us from our own journey. And there's actually so much power that we gain by going into those more wounded parts and the darker places and the stuff that actually feels really uncomfortable and like we don't want to go there, but actually doing that deeper shadow work is ultimately so rewarding and really necessary if we do want to ultimately access that deeper pleasure that we do hold.
Yeah, I mean, I was not shy from those heightened experiences myself, wanting to go to the high. And I heard people speak about the shadow and going to the suffering. I was like, yeah, who wants to go there? Like, I'm having a great time. And, I think we've all been there and the path takes us exactly where we need to go. Let's not forget that. But when I actually started to realize, okay, this is the same as you, like I'm comparing myself to other women, and that's our downfall as women, the minute we start to compare ourselves. Because, of course, whatever our experience is as an individual woman is the experience that we need. And the path is always showing us the spaces that need to be healed if we allow our ego to just step aside a minute and say, yeah, you can't do that, or that's not happening for you. And that allows us to step into a deeper inquiry. Now, I've witnessed you in the group, and I know that the resistance is strong in you and me. And whenever I've been in a group, I'm the same. I'm like, no. And you've said this really beautifully, but what in fact I've witnessed with you is this strong resistance, but then this beautiful ability that you have to then go, okay, I'm going to take this on. And that's rare, Tiffany. Like it's rare to get someone with such a strong resistance, and I have it. But then to fall from that to that space where you go, okay, I'm open to this. What happens if I explore that? So I want you to share this little beauty gem that you have the ability to do to the people that are listening. How do you go from this space that someone says, points out a shadow piece or something you're not really aware of in yourself, where your whole body is like, go away, piss off, I'm not listening to what you're saying, to the ability to say, do you know what? I'm going to explore that. So just share that process with us.
Yeah, it's been intense. I think, nobody wants to look at the shadow. I mean, it's uncomfortable. And so sometimes there's pieces that come up where I've just been really blind to it, or haven't looked at it in a certain way, haven't wanted to look at it in a certain way. And then being in the group and having someone or multiple people reflect back to me a piece that I had wanted to hide from myself, my immediate response can be, well, no, you're wrong. This isn't true. You don't know it like I do. You don't know who I am. You don't know me. And I can get really, really defensive and just want to push everybody away and think that everybody's out to get me. And, I can really, I can spiral in that. But then I've found that like I can't let it go. I can't just actually be like, oh, this isn't true for me, moving on with my life. I sit in it and I feel terrible for like a while. And so it's like, okay, there's something obviously here. I wouldn't be having this strong of a reaction to it. So I've learned to just kind of take it and recognize that there's always a shadow and a light to everything. It's just the way it is, living in a realm of polarity. And so I've just started to get a little bit better at not being afraid of the shadows, and just recognizing that, look, we all have darkness, and we all have shame and stuff that we don't want anybody to see. And we're not alone in that. And to actually just step into that sort of humble space of like, you know what, I'm a mess and that's okay. And actually everybody just wants the best for me. And that's why they're bringing this up, so that I have an opportunity to grow and become stronger. And so when I can just embrace that and go into it, there's usually like a huge piece that starts to awaken and open up in my awareness, and it actually gives me so much more power, and I start to become more of myself, which is a really beautiful feeling.
That's stunning to say that, to become more of yourself. I mean, I always see when I'm guiding in the group and I see those unconscious parts, I always see them like obviously the shadow and they're in the dark for you, but for me they're already illuminated. So they're showing me, wow, if she can get to grips with this part, something very beautiful is going to come from it. And what I've witnessed time after time with women is when we actually come into that, as you say, that humble place, that it's where we actually deeply connect, where we all go, yeah, we're a bit messy, aren't we? We're a little bit messy, and our behaviour's been a little bit messy, and it's attracted a little bit of mess in our lives. But you know what? That's okay. We're like women, and we've done this, and aren't we just learning life? Because it doesn't come with a guidebook. It doesn't tell us how to be. It doesn't teach us that. We teach ourselves that journey. So it creates an intimacy between women, doesn't it? When we say, yeah, I did this and I've done that and I behave in this way. It just, how have you experienced the intimacy between us
Mm.
as we've all just said, oh yeah, I'm there too?
Yeah, it's really beautiful, especially because, I've never met a single one of you in person, and yet I've revealed things to you that I haven't told anyone and have barely told myself. And so I think that when you create such a safe space, which you have, which is, a space where anything goes, like you can bring these deepest, darkest
Yeah.
parts of yourself, and that's okay. And you won't be judged for that. There's such like a depth of connection that I feel like I know every one of the women in such a deep way, even through the ethers. And, it just shows how strong we all are, especially when we can be really honest together.
I completely agree. Like I get really humbled every time I come into that group with the just, the just the willingness to bare your souls and to share what you do, and knowing that everyone's like rooting for each other. We're kind of rooting for each other, saying, yeah, this is this is the poop, but we know that what comes from this poop is the gold. Like we're actually, creating gold, and the golden shadow comes from the shadow, the stuff that we're
Mm.
willing to go to and admit the suffering that it's caused us, and the disruption in our lives. And let's not forget that our unconscious behavior is actually witnessed by most other people. They just don't have the guts to say anything to us. So actually being in a place where people say, that's not doing the best for you, that you can do better, it actually feels like genuine support.
Mm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so I just like, and I've witnessed that very, very deeply in you. This, if anyone's going to work with you, that they will get this person who is raw and open and real. And do you think that that's been happening in this group, that you have actually been allowing Tiffany to come through more?
Yeah, definitely. I think that um, there's definitely a deeper layer of, mm, I think, just embracing my shadow and my imperfection and my, like, that it's okay that I'm still on my healing journey too. I don't have to be this like perfect master in order to be of service to the world. I can, it's like I used to think like, oh, well, if I haven't been able to have all these orgasms, then how could I be a sacred sexuality teacher? And it doesn't matter. Like,
No, no.
it really doesn't. That's not what it's about. It's about, who we are and embracing ourselves and supporting each other and just giving ourselves and each other the permission to be real, which, like you say, we've been in, a patriarchal system that has made us think that we have to take on all of these roles as women. We're supposed to be soft and quiet, but then we're also supposed to have this career and also raise children and also look like a porn star and also never age. And it's like we can just go crazy with all of the pressure and expectations that we put on ourselves. And so to create a space where women can just feel free to be who they are with all of their unresolved wounds and all of their strengths, and just be honored for all of that, I think is so healing.
Yeah, and I think the big thing in the group, like you say about the patriarchy, is that we as a group of women are like, we feel like we're doing this for the collective as well. Just understanding that our own matriarchy has also caused this. There's a tune being sung, and we've danced to that tune, and we are literally, as women, taking ownership that this hasn't all been the masculine that's done this to us. Our own behaviour has made this force field of ridiculous expectations appear all around us, and that they're our own prisons, really, aren't they? We've found that we've created our own prisons within that structure. And so it's about blasting our own behavior, taking ownership for that. There might be a tune that's being played by the patriarchal music sheet, but we've definitely danced to that tune. So this has been about us saying, let's reclaim where we've actually allowed that. Let's reclaim where our behavior is aligned to that, and let's change that. Let's see where our behavior is out of alignment and not really in true sacred, matriarchal structure, which is peace and harmony and alignment and adoration of the masculine. So how's this fitting with you in your life, and what's dawning from this work with your own relationship to the masculine?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Big question, sorry.
No. um, you know, I think a lot of it is about reconnecting to my inner masculine and finding a healthy relationship with that energy. Because I've definitely had, many experiences of unhealthy relationships with the masculine in my life. And so it's been a process of bringing awareness to that, how it's reflected outside, and then looking at how I play out those patterns within myself and doing the work to dismantle those patterns of abuse and abandoning myself and not being present with myself, not taking care of myself, just falling into different illusions, and yeah, just kind of taking back, like you said, the self-responsibility, because it's definitely not about victimhood or saying like, oh, these terrible men have ruined our lives and it's all their fault. It's definitely not that. It's just the way that the masculine and the feminine energies that exist within everything have played out in an imbalanced way. But really the real work is recognizing that patriarchy is something that happens within yourself. And so if we want to heal it on the outside, we have to heal it on the inside.
Beautiful. And you are one of the women, lots of women work with different aspects of themselves. So for example, my own self has been battling with my animus for many years. And there's certain complexes that really show themselves in this body of work. And I know that the princess archetype, which I tend to get a lot of women that come my way that hold the princess archetype. And there'll be a lot of women out there that will recognize this archetype within them. And I really wanted to highlight this in your interview, really, because you've been grappling with this archetypal complex within your own personality. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What's the princess archetype been like? Discovering her in you, what has that shown yourself?
Yeah, that's one of those places that I've defended and not wanted to look at, but it's been really powerful to bring awareness to it. So, always these parts of ourselves, these behaviors that we act out have some sort of wounding associated with them, or some sort of, ancestral pieces or different reasons why these archetypes start to play out in our beings. And so I've been able to bring more awareness to kind of the stories behind my princess. And it's not to make an excuse, but just to kind of give the mind a little bit more understanding of where it comes from. And so I won't go too deep into that, but just one piece that felt like kind of the roots of it is that my grandfather was a Holocaust survivor, and so there was often these patterns playing out of kind of having to take whatever you can to survive, and there can be a little bit of an entitlement that kind of births from that, of like, well, you've taken everything from me, so now I shouldn't have to do anything anymore. I'm entitled to everything. And so I can notice that in myself, and there's other roots to it, of course, too. But there's just a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to highlight that the importance of what you've just shared, because you've actually been able to bring to consciousness that a particular archetype, like the princess, was rooted in your ancestry, and that's where she was born. And actually, what that becomes is, and I'm going to talk about the princess in a minute, because the princess, whenever I see it in a woman, I know it's the queen. Like, I know if we can get through the princess, we're working with a queen here. But you can see that there is something being born in your ancestry through the need to survive that has born this concept in you. And that's huge, absolutely massive. We're into ancestral medicine and healing here as well. So she was born through that. And I want to highlight that to everyone that's listening, because that's a massive, massive consciousness that's been brought to Tiffany's mind. So sorry, go on.
Oh, no, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's helpful for us to recognize our ancestral wounds, because it kind of also gives us a deeper purpose in it. It's like, okay, now we're healing this. not only for ourselves, but for our ancestors too, and kind of seeding a new way for our children. So it feels like when we tap into the ancestral energies that we kind of give ourselves more purpose in our work. So yeah, the princess, I just see a lot of ways that it plays out in my life of just not wanting to take responsibility for
Mm-hmm.
certain things that really, as an adult woman, I should take responsibility for. And, a lot of these are just kind of that, like, I don't know, matrixy sort of 3D world reality of money and structures and, things that I resist for many reasons. And not to say that there isn't validity to kind of seeing the illusions of our current system and wanting to create a new way.
Yeah.
But there's still a certain level of, okay, but I'm here in it. I chose to be here and I have to operate in it as best as I can. And trying to escape from it is ultimately not going to help my purpose.
Yeah, yeah. And the Matrix actually wants princesses to be princesses and never mature to queens.
Mm,
Ain't that the Matrix, so the unaware of a princess archetype within you can actually keep you trapped in the ivory tower. And that's what I always see with the princess archetype in women is that there's certain forces that are trying to keep them trapped within the ivory tower and never to kind of walk down the aisle to the throne as the queen. So it's a big journey, isn't it? A huge journey in recognizing where she's trapped.
mm. Yeah, yeah, it's true. And I think the thing with the princess too is that, we kind of create these illusions that look nice, sort of. We can trick ourselves into thinking like, oh, but it's fine. I don't have to work for anything and everything's easy and this is handed to me and whatever little illusions we might have created. But if we really dig down into it, it's like, yeah, but I'm not actually living the life that I really want to be living. I'm still stuck and trapped. And, that ivory tower might be fancy and comfortable, but you're not going to really live a fulfilling life
Not
stuck
going to
there.
rock the kingdom, are you there?
Yeah.
So the thing with princess archetype that I always find in women, I always find that there's this, queen under the princess, and also just this kind of very hidden, strong animus that wants to come through the woman because obviously the princess is always looking for the prince to rescue her. And I know
Mm.
that now you're really on this journey of discovering your animus and how he can provide and bring those things in. So do you just want to share a little bit on the resolution of the animus for the princess?
Yeah, I think he's, coming through in a stronger way, just in a kind of this self-responsibility space of looking at my life and the choices that I've made and seeing how I've dug myself into certain holes that become seemingly challenging to get out of. And when I can look at it from this lens of empowerment and taking care of myself and loving myself enough to actually protect myself and do the right things, um, then I have the capacity to make different choices and live more in alignment. So I would say it's a constant journey, and I'm definitely not perfect yet. I don't know if I ever will be, but making steps. And yeah, there's certain things that I just wouldn't have noticed before that I see now from a more sovereign space that yeah, it just feels more wholesome and uh more aligned to my true self.
Yeah, and isn't that bringing the unconscious conscious? Isn't that what bringing, we're all on a spiritual journey of wanting consciousness, and we like to believe that. I know I went for years believing, oh, I'm so conscious, but I was just so unaware of the
Mm-hmm.
things that were living inside of me. And this is the path of consciousness, is bringing all the things you didn't know about yourself into the light so that you can then become more in control of them. Like the princess probably lives in many women that's listening to this now, and the fact that they're not conscious of it means that she's dominating their lives. And so having the light shone on her means that you then can start to have more control over these aspects. I mean, if you ask me whether we actually ever heal these, I doubt we do. I believe that we're born with these personality complexes. It's like having a wild horse. We can't like get rid of the horse. We have to kind of learn how to steer it, and that's what we're doing with these complexes. We're riding them. We're like, okay, I'm going to ride you, and I'm going to ride you into the light. I'm going to take you out of the shadow. I'm going to put you in the light, and I know when you come in my life to cause havoc, and I'm actually going to use you to empower myself. And I personally, that's how I use my own personality complexes. I'm kind of like, I need you right now to do this, and I need this aspect of my personality to do this. I'm more aware of the utilities I have rather than just pretending that they're all not there. So it's about
Mm.
bringing the unconscious in to the conscious mind. So
Mm.
as far as your view now that you're living more consciously, and every course we do, of course, and every kind of new training we do, we're bringing more consciousness to ourselves. How do you think this course has changed you as a person?
Hmm. I think there's so many aspects to that. Well, in the light of these different archetypes and aspects of ourselves, I guess we might as well highlight the prostitute as well.
Right.
That's a big one that I don't think many people want to look at, and I definitely didn't want to look at it.
Me neither.
Um, but I definitely carried a lot of that wound coming into this course, and that's been kind of slowly dying and dissolving within me. And, I think we're just sort of sold this idea as women that we're supposed to look a certain way and act a certain way and kind of use our bodies to get what we're really looking for underneath it, which is love and validation and safety and all things that we deserve and need. But because we haven't gotten those in a healthy way, we look for these sort of manipulative, um, kind of sleazy ways of getting what we want. And I think that that's actually really present in this kind of sacred, in quotes, sexuality field where, there is a desire towards, bringing the sacred into sexuality, but a lot of us are still using our bodies to kind of as a marketing tool and a way of luring people in and kind of still selling sexuality. So we're kind of doing it in a more kind of pretty, shiny way that, uh, makes you think that it's sacred, but underneath it, we're still just buying into a lot of these really dark wounds of our society. So I would say that that is a big piece that has been shifting in my life and my body and the way that I relate to my work.
It's a huge
And
piece, a huge piece
yeah.
in the collective. We see it all over with sacred sexuality. They still need to prostitute themselves to sell sacred sexuality in an unsacred way. The language of pornography, and as long as much as we'd like to change that and take ownership back, the whole collective field is still bought into that language through the pornographic industry. So it's trying to come back to sacred words that are not owned by that, and by not like showing our bodies. And we know the ancient priestesses of the Delphine and Atlantis, and all the records show that they just like they wore white sheets, and they hid, they just didn't do this. and the sacred prostitutes that we might refer to nowadays, like the Magdalene, she definitely wasn't, page three girl or selling herself on Instagram to get followers. She was definitely like more covert, and so we kind of like have just wobbled the lines a bit, haven't we, to
Mm,
meet our own wounding, really. And I know that I was there, like I literally was. You can go through my Instagram and see the earlier days of where I was doing exactly the same, and I learned that that wasn't the valid way. That
mm,
sexuality is an energy. It's a creative energy that penetrates through all of that. And if I could really truly penetrate the field of sacred sexuality without selling my sex, then my work was working. So
mm, mhm,
how do we go from that as women to say, yeah, this can be done in a completely different way. Let's pull out of that field. And that's what I
mm,
want to go to next with you, because Tiffany will be offering her work when she's ready in whatever field and way that she decides to do, because we're not yet completed on this course. So there's still some openness for us to be able to see how we want to work with this. But can you give all our listeners a little indication of how you might work with this and what niche you're going to look at and what kind of people you want to come to do your work?
Yeah, so I think it will really be a continually evolving process. I offer one-on-one sessions for women as a way to really go deeply into this work. And, I find that it's really helpful to have a guide and to have deep support in this realm that can feel very confusing. And um, it's big work to go into your sexual energy. So yeah, I like to create that space to help women that maybe feel disconnected from their sexual energy, feel blocked around orgasm, feel not good enough, unworthy, struggle with self-love, all of that, in sessions. And then I love to share women's circles. I haven't been doing it lately. I've just been kind of focusing on my own work more, but I think soon I'll be offering some women's circles, probably online and in person. And yeah, at some point I would love to offer retreats as well. So we'll see how it all continues
I
to
love that. So
blossom.
where are you based, Tiffany? So people can like connect to you if they want to do the physical circles and the virtual as well. Just tell us how where you are.
Yeah, at the moment I'm in Florida, though I've been kind of traveling around a lot and not super grounded in my physical location. So I can't say how much longer I'll be here, but the online is always a great way to stay connected with me. So yeah, there's my website, email, Instagram, all those ways.
Okay, so if we make sure that on this video we give you links, what is the best way to get in touch with you through your Instagram? What's your Instagram name, or is it through your email? Just like share those links.
Yeah. My Instagram is a good way, tiffany.ashaya.rose. But also email is great as well, tiffany@ashayarose.com. And yeah, we can put those links.
We can put them in the video, yeah, so people can get in touch with you. And I'll be tagging you in this on Instagram and on my own Facebook account and on my website. So everybody will be able to reach to you. So, Tiffany, eventually the page will have all links to all your websites so people will be able to find you, meet you in person. But I just want to say, Tiffany, if I felt it from the moment I met you that you are a really, a priestess from the past for sure, and that you hold deep keys for women in sacred sexuality. There's just something really beautiful about your humility and your willingness to go there. And for me, when I try to find teachers, I always make sure that I find a teacher who is doing the work and who is humble. And I can honestly vouch for that for other women who are looking for that kind of inspirational teacher as well. So I just want to thank you deep from my heart for this interview and for your participation. Like the other women, without you, it would not be as it is. It's been wonderful to support you, and deeply humbling for me too.
Oh, thank you. I'm so touched by your words, and it's been such an honor to study with you as you absolutely are an incredibly powerful teacher. So, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So, guys, look out for Tiffany. I think this woman's going to rock the sacred sexuality work. And as we promised, all the links will be shared in the video after. Thanks again for tuning in. And this completes the last of the interviews with the women. But I do like to say that if you keep your eyes open, you might see in the future us combining our powers to bring you something very beautiful. So stay tuned. Bye for now.